Today we are going to see some important React interview question. What is the role of SRC folder in React? So basically in React, SRC folder is used to store all the source code of the application. So entire source code of our application will be stored in that folder. Then what is the role of index.html page in React? So basically index.html file in React project is the entry point of the application. So when first of all user get run its project or code, the entry point of our application is index.html. Then what is the role of app.js file in React? App.js is the top main root level component in the React application. It is basically a main component in our application, and it is responsible for rendering all the of our components. So it is basically a root component of our application, and which is responsible for rendering all the components. So in this file what we can do, we can conditionally render the another components. Then what is the role of function and returns inside app.js? In React, a function is a JavaScript function that returns a React element. It's basically component is basically like a function only. It just added with HTML, so it uses the JSX. So the reason we can embed the HTML inside the JavaScript. The reason it is because of function, it also returns a single thing or a single value or a single array at a time. Then can we have a function without return inside app.js? Yes. So the answer is yes. Then what is the role of export default inside app.js? So basically it is used to make the app component available for import using another files. The reason we use export default inside app.js or any file, because we have to import that particular file in another component. The reason we use export default in that component. Then what is the role of index.js file, React DOM and render method in React DOM? So basically React DOM is a JavaScript library which convert your components which are written in React syntax to the actual browser DOM. So basically it's just a library which converts your components to actual browser DOM. So because what does happen that browser can't understand React, so what does it do? It converts all the components into the JavaScript actual browser DOM. Then browser get understand this in a single file. Then index.js file has a JavaScript file which renders all the components and replaces the root element of index.html. So in a file with the newly rendered root element, there is only a single file index.js having the single root element which is in index.html. How React app load and display the component in browser? So first of all what happened, this is like our Chrome, like in our mobile, like a Flipkart. We can say that first of all, for the purpose of login or register, first of all it get requested. Then what happened, it firstly go to the our index.html file. Then it goes to index.html. In that file we have introduced the index.js file. In an index.js file there is a root element, and in index.js file we have imported the app.js. So app.js is inside this index.js, and index.js and index.html both are connected to each other. This is how like our app load in browser. Then what is JSX? So basically JSX stands for JavaScript XML, is a syntax extension used by React to write HTML code. Babel converts JSX to JavaScript and then print to browser. So what is JSX? JSX is basically a combination of JavaScript and HTML which is understood by React. Then with the help of what we can do, we can embed JavaScript directly into the HTML, so which makes our code more simple and standard. Then browser can't understand JSX directly, so the reason we have the Bible transcompiler, which our transcompile the our code, React code, which is component based, into the JavaScript, and then browser get understand as a pure JavaScript. The reason it optimize again code and makes our application more faster. This is also one of the reason which makes React more faster. Then what are the advantages of React JSX? The first one is the improve code readability and rewritability. As it is a as it is a component base, what does it do? With avoids the reusability of code and readability in managing the more good way and well managed. Then error checking in advance and type safety. Then it also supports JavaScript expression. Then improve performance as it optimizes code while converting the our JSX into the pure JavaScript by using the viable compiler, which makes it more optimized and improve the performance. Then it also use the code reusability as it is component based, so instead of rewriting the code again and again, so for the same function it reuse the code for the reason it is component based. Then can browser read a JSX file? What is Babel? Yeah, so Babel, we already seen in above question that browser can't understand the JSX, so the answer is no. Browser will not understand the JSX code directly. So we already seen that first of all JSX code will get converted into the JavaScript by using this Babel compiler, and then it will get understand by this browser like Chrome or any another browser. Then what does this Babel? The Babel is a React JS used to transpile the JSX syntax into the regular JavaScript. It is basically a transcompiler, which our transcompiler, we can say, convert our JSX code into the pure JavaScript, and which browser can understand. Then the next question is what is transpiler? A transpiler is a tool that converts source code from one programming language to another programming language. Transcompiler is like basically a tool. It just convert from one thing to another thing. Like here, it converts the like Babel is, we can say, example of one of transcompiler, which converts our JSX into the JavaScript like this. From it just transform the code from one to another language. That's simple. Then next question is it possible to use JSX without read? So yes, so the answer is yes. It's possible to use JSX without React. Here is a React. So yes, it is possible to use JSX without React by creating your own transpile like Babel. However, this is not recommended since JSX is tightly integrated with React and relies on many React specific features. So yeah, we can use JSX without the React also, but for the purpose we have to make our own transpiler like Babel. Then next question is what is the role of fragment in React? So basically in React, fragment is a way to group a list of children without adding extra nodes to the DOM. So what does it do? React component are basically a JavaScript function, and function returns one thing at a time. So for the reasoning or returning of multiple things, we need like another extra div. The reason a developer not you developer think that it adds the extra node to the DOM. So the reason React introduces the fragment. So by using this like fragment, instead of using div, we can return a multiple component like this we can do in React. Then how do you iterate over a list in JavaScript? What is the .map method? So map method allows you to iterate over an array and modify its element using a callback function. So what does it do? It iterates every element and modify the array. using this callback function. Then what are the props in JSX? Props are a way to pass the data from one component to another component, or parent component to child components. Props are stand for like a properties. With the help of, we can pass it from one component to another component. Then what is spread operator? Spread operator is used to expand or spread an array or object. So what does the spread operator, which is introduced in ES6, what we can do by using this, we can copy all the elements from one array to another array, or one object to another array, or we can pass as a parameter. Then what are the types of conditional rendering? JSX. So we can render the conditionally particular component or anything in React or JavaScript by using the if else statement, then ternary operator, then and operator, and switch statement. Then next one is the what is the ref in React? Refs provide a way to access DOM nodes or React element created in the render method. In a typical data flow, props are the only way that parents component interact with their children. To modify a child, you render it with new props. However, there are a few cases where you need to imperatively modify a child outside of the typical data flow. The child to be modified could be an instance of React component, or it could be a DOM element. For both of these cases, React provides a escape catch. Then when to use this ref? So we use ref managing the focus, text selection, or media playback. Then triggering imperative animations, integrating with third-party DOM libraries. Then difference between virtual DOM and real DOM, like virtual DOM. And then real DOM, it changes can be made easily. So it is easy to make changes. Changes can be expensive. It takes long time for updation. Minimal memory wastage, high demand for memory, and more wastage. JSX element is updated in the element exists. Creates a new DOM every time as elements get updated. Cannot update HTML directly. Able to directly manipulate HTML. It is having the faster update and it have the slow updates. So what the main difference is that why virtual DOM is faster and why real DOM is much slower than this virtual DOM. The reason is that virtual DOM is basically an exact copy of this real DOM. So if any updation happens within our component, so instead of it updating the whole component again, it before updating things, like what does it do? It checks its current DOM and its previous current virtual DOM and its previous virtual DOM. If it finds the changes in between this DOM only, then only it changes the real DOM and it updates the only thing which were updated instead of updating whole DOM. And in the case of real DOM, if any changes happen within that page, instead of checking if there is a changes have been there or not, it always updates the whole DOM again and again. This complication or this operation make it slow. The reason virtual DOM is more faster, and in React, virtual DOM and real DOM are sync with each other by using the reconciliation algorithm. So that's all for today. Thank you.